Ba 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 ba. Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to another video. Um, you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about Survivor. Because season 48 is currently airing. I think there's been like 5 episodes so far. And from like the most recent episode that I've watched, the teams are now merged, or like they had like the merge challenge. So I want to talk about just Survivor, the new season, some of the characters in the new season, but I want to talk about what is pretty much like killing Survivor at its core. Because obviously Survivor doesn't get the same amount of like views as it did when it was popular. And I want to talk about why. I want to talk about why that is. But before we get into that, a little bit of context. Survivor is a American TV show that aired around, I want to say like the early 2000s. And it's been on for about 20 years, and there's been 48 seasons so far. Sounds like a lot, yeah? Well, that's because every single year they put out 2 seasons of Survivor. One in the springtime and one in the fall. And I have been watching this show for... Damn, how long have I been watching this show for? I've been watching... One of the seasons I genuinely... Like, one of my first seasons I genuinely remember is Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. That was around, like, the mid-30s of this show. So, I've been watching for... I would honestly say around a decade now. Wait, no, not a decade. I've been watching for a while now. I don't know how to do math, guys. Guys, I don't know how to... I don't know my basic, I don't know basic addition and subtraction. Anyway, I've been watching this series for a while now. I haven't seen the more popular seasons of the show, like the ones with Boston Rob, or the ones with Russell Hantz, or the ones with Sandra. But I have seen the seasons with Tony, and that man is a king. Honestly, Tony, when I first watched the season where Tony first appeared, I hated the guy. I was like, man, he's such a scummy player, you know what I mean? Like, he was playing the game in a way that wasn't full of, like, integrity, or, like, he wasn't playing the game like a good person should. He was playing it hard, he was playing it dangerous, and I hated that at first. But when he started to appear in other seasons, I was starting to get the appeal of Tony. I remember, it was in Game Changers. Tony came in on the camp, first episode, and immediately started looking for an idol. And I don't know why. I don't know why, but that just made me smile so hard. I was like, oh, you little bitch. you little bitch. You know what I mean? Like, you're already looking for an idol. You guys barely stepped on camp yet. So, obviously, I was kind of sad when he, like, I think he got voted out first episode. So I was pretty sad about that. And then he appeared in season 40, and he won that season, and I was very happy about that, even though I kind of wanted Ben to win. I love Ben. He's my favorite winner. But needless to say, I go through all that, because 1, I like to fucking yap, and 2, to express how much I really love Survivor. It's been pretty much a comfort show for me ever since I started watching it around the mid-30 seasons. And I watch it with my grandmother, who also really likes the show. And every single Wednesday, I go over to her house, and we, grab some popcorn, and we watch the show together. So it's been a bit of a tradition for me and my grandmother, and I really enjoy it. And to be perfectly honest, me and my grandmother have kind of enjoyed season 48 so far. Um, there's one character I just cannot fucking stand, and that's Say, who is seemingly going to be on the show for a while, but to be perfectly honest, um, that's kind of to be expected with newer seasons of the show. One thing I've noticed throughout, especially like the uh like from like season 40 to now, is if you are hateable enough on Survivor, the producers seem to realize that you're good television. Not to say that Survivor is always scripted, but it would be kind of stupid to suggest that Survivor, to an extent, doesn't have some sort of like production meddling. And that's something I've noticed with the new seasons of Survivor, is that if there's a character on the show that everyone seems to universally hate, they will stay on the show for a good while, because it's the sociology of it, of this character is hateable, this player is hateable, sure, but he's a good shield. Or they can just vote them out at any time. So, Say reminds me of just one of those characters who, she's not a very good person. I don't like watching her, but she's good television. She has a lot of like insane reactions to tribal council. She's definitely a woman who plays hard, and I think that's something that the producers realize, and they think like, we want to keep this person around. But Say's the only one I don't particularly enjoy. So let's talk about people who I do like. Um, Mitch. I really enjoy Mitch. The fact that he is on the show, even despite his like speech impediment, is pretty damn cool, to be perfectly honest. Like, you wouldn't think a speech impediment kind of like ruins your chances at Survivor, but there's a lot of prejudiced people in the world, you know? There are people who think like, oh, you have a speech impediment? Well, you're obviously going to be stupid. But Mitch, on the show, proves that he has a lot of unique aspects to him. You know, despite his speech impediment, he's a really good player. Like, physically. He's a very good player. Like, he's not the buffest guy around, you know, Joe and the other guy, David. They have him beat out on that part. But he is he's a lot more physical than some of the other guys on the show currently. And he's also pretty good at puzzles. He's a very well-rounded Survivor player, and I honestly am really excited to see him like continue on. And speaking of, you know, prejudice and disabilities, we gotta bring up my girl, Eva. Ugh. I love Eva so far. I don't know if it's all that apparent by the way I speak or the way I present myself in my videos, but I have ADHD. I don't necessarily have autism like what Eva has, but I do suffer from like problems with social cues and communicating with others, and there are times where I watch Eva on the show and I think to myself like, wow, she just like me for real. Like, I actually am like that. We are actually the same person. You know what I mean? Again, I don't know if I have autism, but I do know I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and a lot of her mannerisms and the way she speaks, it really kind of like gets to me, like on a personal level. Like, for example, one thing I've noticed about Eva throughout this season is that she doesn't know how to whisper. And that's something I don't know how to do. I don't know how to whisper either. So when there are times where like people like Joe will tell her like, hey, look, you gotta like lower your voice a little bit because we're trying to have a conversation about voting off a certain player. and we can't have you like talking at a normal volume, so you're gonna need to quiet down. And she seems kind of confused by that, but she does what he says. Like, she just like me. She just like me for real. Like, Eva, like, so far, she does, like, there's nothing really to Eva that makes me think, like, oh, she's gonna go far. But on a personal level, I have never seen a more relatable character as Eva. And, of course, we gotta talk about, what was it, episode 4? Episode 4. Well, it was one of the, like, the most recent episodes where Eva is on a challenge and she starts to feel overstimulated. And throughout the entire time I was watching it with my grandmother, I just felt so much sympathy and relatability for Eva. Because I've had those moments too. Moments where it's like you feel as though your entire body is going to shut down, and you kind of start to act irrationally compared to what you usually are like. And when she finally won the challenge and she just started like screaming and sobbing, I felt really connected to her at that moment. And when Joe ran up to her and like calmed her down in his arms, I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I think what I was really scared of was that Eva, throughout the entire show at that point, was saying, like, I don't know if I want to tell people about my autism. Because, obviously, like I mentioned with Mitch, there's a lot of prejudiced people in the world. People who won't take you seriously because of one simple disability of yours. So when Eva brought it up in front of everyone about her autism, and everyone was super supportive and nice and welcoming, I'm not gonna lie, it made me tear up a little bit. And then I started bawling when Jeff started crying. Like, if you can get Jeff, the host, to cry, like, that's an achievement in and of itself. Like, if I'm on Survivor, I don't want to win. I want to make Jeff cry. So, yeah. Like, overall, season 48 is looking to be a lot better than the previous seasons. Especially with Mitch and Eva around. But we have to talk. As a Survivor community, we have to talk about Survivor and its unfortunate problems. Because I want Survivor to continue. I'm kind of the belief that I don't think Survivor is going to last past season 50. But I would like for it to last past season 50. But in order to do that, we as a community have to have a discussion about Survivor and its issues. And there are 2 issues that immediately come to mind. And if anyone from, like, you know, CBS or whoever is the company that hosts or shows Survivor is watching this video, this is my official, like, voting thing for season 50. So let's talk about problem number 1, the casting. This is a problem that has been going on, I would honestly argue, since, like, the early 30s of this show. But it's been more apparent these last couple of seasons of a lot of the people who come onto this show are people who have watched Survivor when they were young. And that's not inherently a bad thing. You know, super fans can make this show pretty enjoyable. But we have to acknowledge the fact that a lot of the people who come onto the show now are people under the age of 30. The people who come onto the show now are millennials. And they aren't just normal millennials. They're millennials who believe everything on TV. They go onto the show and they think that Survivor is going to be just like how it is on TV. And they don't understand that that's not how reality TV works. Reality TV is edited. Reality TV is somewhat scripted. There are times where it's not going to be easy on the show. And a lot of people who come onto the show don't realize that. And they come on the show and they think it'll be just like how it is on TV. But then they get a huge fucking reality check when there's not a lot of rice for you to eat. You have to go and scour for food yourself. You have to build a shelter. You have to make fire. You have to participate in these grueling challenges. You have to be around people who you might not agree with politically or just platonically. And you have to just deal with it. And they can't handle that. I remember that there was a season of the show. I can't exactly remember what season it was, but it was during like the 40s of this season. So like, season 41 to now. Where I think there were 3 quitters in the show. I'm going to look it up now, actually. 3 people ended up just completely quitting. I think it was 45. Yeah, it was in season 45 where 2 people decided to quit. And I believe one other person decided to like unofficially quit. And then I believe there was a medical evacuation. So the medical evacuation is like, okay, that's understandable. They have to quit because of medical reasons. But 3 people quitting, and the 3 of them being young millennials who, like I said, probably didn't think Survivor would be this hard. That says a lot about the casting problem in Survivor. A lot of the people who get cast on Survivor nowadays are spoiled kids, basically. People who don't understand the difference between TV and reality and will bitch and whine about, like, them not adjusting properly to the surroundings. And then they end up quitting. Or they end up just being a enjoyable person to watch on screen. And who wants that? Like, genuinely, who wants that? Who wants to watch some, like, annoying pissant whine and bitch about, like, oh, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Can I get my mommy to pick me up? It's like, no, we don't want to watch that. We want to watch enjoyable people. Or we want to watch people who are like Tony, who are kind of chaotic. We don't want to watch someone who's, like, just miserable all the time. So that's the first problem. And the second and last problem, in my opinion, is the 3-tribe format. I don't know when this officially started, but around, like, it definitely started around the 40s of this season, of the show, where you no longer had 2 tribes to start out with. You had 3. And, like, when it comes to the casting, you can't always have, like, 3 tribes who are physically equal. You are going to have some issues on certain tribes. What has been happening a lot recently are 3-tribe formats where 2 tribes end up dominating the competition and 1 tribe ends up losing multiple times. It even happened in this season. The green team kept losing constantly, and the purple and orange team just kept consistently winning. So, what ends up happening is we ended up focusing on 1 tribe more than the others. And obviously, that's kind of to be expected if 1 tribe keeps losing all the time, but here's the thing. If we focus on 1 tribe too much, we aren't going to know or care about the other players on the game. Even when the merge starts, there will be a very less likely chance of audience members actually remembering or caring about anyone else on the game except for the people who kept losing all the time, because that was what the show focused on the most. So, what do we do about this? The obvious answer is to just create the 2-tribe format again. Have 2 tribes of like 8 people or 7 people and just see how it goes. Because having 3 tribes of 5 or 3 tribes of 6 is just going to create some issues. Because again, not all tribes are created equally. There are some tribes where they completely dominate the competition because they have stronger men and women. There are some times where one of the tribes will have smarter people than the others. So eventually, you're going to see a tribe lose a lot. And that's what's been happening over the past couple seasons. Almost every single time since we've started this 3-tribe format, there has been multiple seasons where one tribe pre-merge ends up losing constantly. And again, do you want to watch that? I don't. I don't want to just watch some, like, one tribe just keep losing constantly. Like, why would you want that? I want to focus on every single tribe, not just one singular tribe who just ends up being unlucky most of the time. That's why I do believe that, like, post-merge is the most exciting part of Survivor nowadays, is because we end up having these, like, messed up tribes where one tribe just ends up losing constantly, and we never get to see what happens on the other 2 tribes. So, another way we can fix this is to just lower the amount of people who come on the show. I think nowadays, like, due to COVID and whatnot, like, COVID kind of ruined Survivor in the sense of, like, less people had to come on for obvious safety reasons. But nowadays, Survivor has, I believe, 18 people on. So that means 18 divided by 3 would be 3 groups of 6. So you'd think that, like, 3 groups of 6 people on each tribe? Well, obviously the tribes will be even, right? And equal, but they aren't most of the time because of the casting issue. Like I mentioned, how a lot of the people who come on the show are millennials who don't work out or aren't that smart. They come on the show because they think, my mommy and daddy used to watch this show and I watched it with them, therefore it'll be just like TV. So a way we can fix the 3-tribe format is to just lower the amount of people who come on the show. So that way we would have a 2-tribe format where we could have, like, for example, instead of 18 people on the show, we would have 14 and we would have 2 groups of 7. And the only reason why I don't see this working as well as, like, the first option is I'm pretty sure, like, CBS or whoever owns Survivor, I'm pretty sure they have to have, like, a specific amount of episodes each season. Otherwise, like, I don't know, fucking Jeff gets shot. I don't know. But I'm assuming that's kind of the reason why they're sticking to the, 18 people thing. Because I think each episode of Survivor so far has, like, 13 episodes per season. So I think if we were to lower the format from, like, 3 tribes to 2, I think there would be a lot of production issues that come with that in terms of, like, ordering episodes and stuff like that. So I feel like the easiest solution to this would just be the first option. Despite all of my misgivings and, to be perfectly honest, justified anger about Survivor, I still really love Survivor, and I will keep watching to season 50 because I want to know what the hell they're gonna do. I want to know what they are cooking, and I want to continue watching. So that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye!